Hey, it's Ormel from Carberry. I am now doing my questions for 150 startups with Craig Elias. Um, I'm just gonna jump into here and I'll read off the questions that we need to answer and then I'll start answering the questions, I guess. So the first question is what we learned from the first batch of interviews, and that was the interviews to qualify for the $750 challenge. Why I chose the MVP I did, what I learned from the second batch of interviews after the MVP, and what I plan to do next. And sorry if this is a bit shaky, I'm recording this from my phone, but what I learned from the first batch of interviews is that there's quite a big pattern with the people that have issues buying and selling a car. And, you know, a lot of the same answers kept coming up. For example, people were frustrated that, every time they went to sell a car or whatever through classifieds, more likely than not, one of the people that they were going to show it to never bothered showing up, never bothered to give them a heads up, so that was really frustrating for them. Additionally, it's super intimidating just meeting with a random stranger or even dealing with a salesman at a dealership. And that's what we found too, that, you know, especially women, but even a couple of men, really felt intimidated because it's so high pressure. And as soon as you're in that seat, you're sort of locked. And that's what they didn't like. So from that, it sort of became a bit clearer on, what problem we wanted to solve and what specifically we wanted to, who specifically we wanted to solve it for. Because the majority of the people we interviewed and the people that had the highest level of dissatisfaction were women. And, seeing how bad the industry is and just hearing their stories, I could definitely see where they're coming from. So for the MVP, we decided to use a Facebook ad. And it was fairly simple. It was actually an A/B test between two ads. One of the headlines was, just let me find it here. One of the headlines were, so one of the headlines were, never overpay for a car and get the best price without stepping inside of a dealership. Both of them with two different sets of, um, you know, images, I guess, and one being an illustration, the other being a high quality photo. And we decided to use that as our MVP to see how many people are really dissatisfied with buying and selling a car or are interested in what they could do to make it better for their next experience or for someone else they know going through that process. And it was really insightful, and that brings us to our second set of interviews. And I guess a lot of the people just felt that, it's unfair, it's not secure at all. And a lot of the answers we were getting were, I like buying cars off a friend of a friend, but, it's sort of intimidating. And it kind of can be kind of awkward when you're selling to a friend because you have to negotiate and all that kind of stuff. And we were seeing a trend moving towards classifieds and dealerships towards buy and sells on Facebook and whatnot. And what people really wanted was a social sign-in, and I thought that was very, very insightful because it's one way to safeguard users from like, I guess, taking advantage of other users, spamming other users. That's the problem that a lot of people have with Kijiji. And with dealerships, you know, they always get upsold. They just don't like the experience. Yes, it's convenient for a couple of people, but that convenience doesn't really translate into them wanting to use it again. So that was really important to know. I guess our next steps moving forward is, so we've gotten our ATIF micro voucher and we want to just move forward with the deployment of our second version. We're already a month ahead into the project and we're really excited to launch. We're just doing a bunch of user testing right now. So a lot more interviews, a lot more figuring out and really narrowing down what people want and building that out for them. Or Mel checking out from Carberry.